The Chamber of Horrors, Satan's structure, the box of boxes. So comes time for the Elimination Chamber to once again throw a spanner in the works of WrestleMania. Sometimes that happens accidentally, and sometimes it happens by design. Sometimes WWE nails the Elimination Chamber, making their road to WrestleMania that much more interesting and exciting because of it. It may not happen 100% of the time, and for those examples, may I offer you our list of times WWE got the Elimination Chamber wrong. But in the meantime and in between time, let's keep that Royal Rumble positivity going here today. Much like our recent list of times WWE got the Royal Rumble right, this is a list of times WWE's decision-making was on point, rather than a list of best chamber performances, so we'll just have to wait to praise the great Khali some other time. I'm Tempest, hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are 12 times WWE got the Elimination Chamber right. Number 12, the Shayna Baszler Chamber. In theory, Shayna Baszler eliminating the entire field of the 2020 Women's Elimination Chamber match was a good idea. In theory, communism works. In theory. Entering this list in the bottom spot is WWE's attempt at smashing over the new top star of the women's division. I say attempt because when all was said and done, more people were talking about how boring this match was than how dominant Shani Baz actually was. As said off the top, WWE had the perfect idea for this match, having the former NXT Women's Champion eliminate the other 5 competitors. But for as good an idea as this was, execution is important, and WWE did not execute this idea well at all. There was way too much time spent standing around waiting for the next pod to open, a problem that could have been easily solved if Shayna had simply entered the match 5th instead of 4th. However, this is a positive list, and this match does deserve praise for producing a worthy WrestleMania challenger for Becky Lynch. It would have just, been nice if Shayna had won that match. Number 11, Kofi's Paranoia. Back in the early days of 2009, a bright-eyed Jamaican named Kofi Kingston was set to receive his first world title opportunity inside the Elimination Chamber. Then a certain no-good bastard named Edge put a stop to that, scrambling Kofi's brains and taking his spot in the chamber. 1 year later, Kofi was older, wiser, 100% less Jamaican, and made certain that the same thing did not happen again. In probably my favorite part of the 2010 Raw Elimination Chamber match, Kofi makes his entrance, frequently checking his back to make sure he wouldn't get jumped again. It is just such a smart little moment, and sure, in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't mean too much, but it is emblematic of a time when WWE paid a little bit more attention to detail. I'm not sure whether this was a Kofi idea or something he was instructed to do by WWE, but commentary did point it out, and I really don't trust Michael Cole to do his research, so I'm gonna say this was intentional. In case it isn't, it places low on the list, but it places high in my heart. Number 10, Triple H doesn't save Batista. The build to WrestleMania 21's main event between Evolution running mates Triple H and Batista is one of the best stories WWE has ever told, and at New Year's Revolution, we got maybe my favorite moment of this legendary storyline. It was a storyline built up over time, with subtlety playing a large role in the animal's emergence as a main event star. So came the Elimination Chamber for the vacant world title in Puerto Rico, with both Triple H and Batista taking part. Batista's goal was clear: help Triple H become world champion again, but when the time came, a white-hot stare-down took place between the leader and his heavy. Triple H was scared straight by standing opposite Batista, and when Randy Orton hit an RKO on Big Dave, Triple H can be seen clear as day, rising from the corner to make the save, but choosing not to. It is such a brilliant piece of storytelling, and it just goes to show that sometimes simple and subtle storytelling can have the greatest lasting impact. Number 9, CM Punk's sermon. Again. We recently spoke about CM Punk's famous Royal Rumble sermon, but now it is time for the oft-forgotten sequel. After the swift dismissal of R-Truth, I'm sure you'll win the world title next time, Truth, CM Punk took to the mic to antagonize each of his 4 remaining opponents still locked in their pods. Punk told Undertaker he would make him tap out again, referencing their screwjob finish at Breaking Point a few months earlier, and Undertaker was none too pleased about it. May have had something to do with being set on fire moments earlier, but who's to say? Words cut deep. Eventually, Punk's sermon was cut off by the arrival of Rey Mysterio, but this was once again WWE and CM Punk making the absolute most out of every single moment of Punk's screen time, and anyone who can get the biggest reactions of the match without taking a bump is a genius worker in my book. Number 8, rivalries reignited. Much like how WWE likes to start the Royal Rumble match with an Easter egg or a callback, the same applies for the Elimination Chamber. There have been many examples of WWE starting a chamber match with former rivals, and more often than not, it has yielded magical results. It doesn't matter the era. It doesn't matter the rivalry. The Chamber is where enemies found each other. Jericho and Michaels in 03, Jericho and Benoit in 05, Taker and Batista in 08, Jericho and Michaels again in 08, Edge and Mysterio in 2011, Cena and Styles in 2017, Bryan and Joe in 2019. This is just something that WWE gets right in their Elimination Chamber matches, and it means so much. If I'm going to highlight a few of them, the big shoutouts have to go to Taker and Batista and Edge and Mysterio for being the two sets of rivals not only to start their matches, but finish their matches while being the best part of their matches as well. Number 7, the Ballad of Santino Marella. On the list of unlikely WWE World Title contenders, you have names like Bob Holly, R-Truth, Eric Bischoff, The Patriot, Zack Ryder, but none of them ever came as close to actually capturing the gold as Santino Marella. The only interesting thing about Elimination Chamber 2012 as a whole was the journey of Santino, who had won the last spot in the World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber match by winning a Battle Royal on SmackDown. Now that sure doesn't sound like praise for a pay-per-view, and truthfully it wasn't a good one, but Santino doing stairs in preparation for the biggest match of his career was a chuckle-worthy setup for his actual performance in, as they say in Italy, the Elimination Chamber. Santino somehow outlasts Big Show, the Great Khali, Cody Rhodes, and Wade Barrett to go toe-to-toe with the world champion Daniel Bryan, and in the most ludicrous near-fall in Elimination Chamber history, nearly pinned him with the Cobra. That's right, the sock puppet nearly ended the great reign of Daniel Bryan. Of course, if that actually had happened, this would be on a completely different list, but there's no denying that Santino offering a comedy underdog performance was precisely the best way to go about this, otherwise very forgettable match. Number 6, the 2008 Raw Chamber participants. Now this one is personal for me because No Way Out 2008 was the first pay-per-view cycle I ever saw as a fan, and it influenced a lot of my opinions about WWE, particularly how you book a field of Elimination Chamber competitors to seem like potential winners. Competing for this shot at the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 24 was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Jeff Hardy, JBL, and Umaga. Now JBL and Umaga may not have had much of a chance of going on and main eventing WrestleMania, but they played a fun role as the heel tandem, with JBL paying off Umaga to make sure he won. But the other 4 is where this chamber really shines. Not only do you have 4 main event stars that each could have headlined WrestleMania at the time, but they each had their own completely separate beefs with champion Randy Orton from the months leading up to Mania. Triple H lost to Orton in October, HBK lost in November, Jericho in December, and Hardy in January, and I don't think we have seen a chamber since with as many believable main event caliber winners as this one. Number 5, Tag Team Champions, Boss and Hug. While Isla Dawn and Alba Fire may have placed a retroactive curse on the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship that has meant that those who hold it are doomed to be injured, badly booked, or deleted from existence in the case of Aaliyah, the first night the titles were introduced was the very best night they ever had. As stated off the top, this isn't as much a list of WWE choosing the right winners of these chamber matches, but in this case there was only one team that would have made fitting first champions for WWE's Beyblade belts, and they were Boss and Hug. I mean, Sasha Banks and Bayley. There is a bit of a question to be asked about why the tag titles were introduced in a match that featured 0 tags, but otherwise WWE got the Elimination Chamber right at Elimination Chamber 2019. It was already clear WWE was going to struggle to fill out the women's tag division when they did not have 6 teams to hand to fill out this match, but of the established teams involved, Sasha Banks and Bayley had the most fan support, they had the most credibility, and they were simply the best wrestlers present. Their reign may not have amounted to much, but when you watch this show, you can't help but feel something when their tears start flowing. Number 4, the first one. It can often be difficult to introduce a brand new match type into the universe. Insert drawing of the Ultimate X match here. And you really need to nail the first one if the match type is going to have a chance of sticking. Insert drawing of the Championship Scramble here. Thankfully, the Elimination Chamber was not only presented very well as a concept by Eric Bischoff and the WWE video production team, but the first match was as close to perfect as you could expect a match to be when one guy in it nearly crushed his throat. Simply put, if this match sucked, you would have a lot more fast lanes in February. 6 top Raw wrestlers competed for the world title with Kane, Rob Van Dam, Booker T, Chris Jericho, and Shawn Michaels, who was wrestling only his second match back from retirement, trying to take the title off of Triple H. Shawn does, capturing his final world title and helping to establish one of the greatest WWE original creations of all time, while wearing poopy brown pants. I'm sorry, I can't not mention them. Number 3, Kofi Mania. I mean, this match is almost entirely referred to as the Kofi Mania Chamber at this point. After Kofi Kingston caught fire on SmackDown in the gauntlet match to determine who would enter the chamber last, this match sent him into the fan support stratosphere, and thus Kofi Mania was born. It would have been so easy for WWE to have Kofi enter this chamber, have a good showing, and then get eliminated third while the quote-unquote real main eventers finished the match, but that isn't what happened. Kofi outlasted Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe until he was all alone with Bryan Danielson, and in some of the most heated action in Elimination Chamber history, Kofi nearly beats Bryan for the WWE Championship, but doesn't. I use no hyperbole when I say that this match had my friends and I on the edge of our seats at home, because even though it was just before WrestleMania, WWE caught lightning in a bottle, and maybe, just maybe, they would go with everyone's main man, Kofi. The decision to not have the title change hands was the right one, as it led to one of the greatest WrestleMania moments of all time, but I cannot understate the importance of this truly excellent match in getting the story to Mania. Number 2, Shawn Cost's Taker. Most people could see the card for WrestleMania 26 coming from a mile away, with Royal Rumble winner Edge likely to challenge former partner and rival Chris Jericho, and Shawn Michaels actively trying to get a WrestleMania rematch with The Undertaker. But with the World Heavyweight Championship still around the waist of the dead man going into Elimination Chamber, the question remained as to how WWE would shift their chess pieces into their necessary positions. Of course, you could just have Chris Jericho beat The Undertaker, but with all these Mania plans swirling, it felt like a more creative solution was needed. Enter Shawn Michaels. Literally, in fact, as Shawn illegally entered the cage at the end of the match, super kicking The Undertaker and allowing his long-hated rival Chris Jericho to win the world title. Was Jericho winning the title a little predictable? Yeah. But how they got there continues to be remembered as one of the key moments in the all-time great story of Shawn Michaels willing to go to any lengths and ultimately put his career on the line for another shot at ending The Undertaker's streak. And number 1, Edge pulls double duty. One of the all-time great show-long stories WWE has ever told, and the perfect example of Edge's ultimate opportunist character being the most interesting part of WWE at the time. At this point, everyone knows the story here. Edge wrestled the opening chamber match as WWE Champion, got eliminated in 3 minutes, freaked the out backstage, and then decided to give Kofi Kingston a scrambled brain and also PTSD. Shout out to the me of 10 minutes ago for talking about that bit of awesomeness. That decision got Edge inserted into the World Heavyweight Championship chamber in Kofi's place and saw him walk out as the new world champion. You never see the world title scene shuffled around like this right before WrestleMania, but No Way Out 2009 was one of those shows that got you thinking that when you watch an Elimination Chamber, anything actually can happen. And that's our list. Make sure, of course, that you like this video, subscribe, and enable notifications to always on so you never miss a list just like it. And make sure you check out this clip from last week's list. And that's right, I lost. Thanks, Luke. Yes, indeed, my debut was not my best day, but what about those in WWE for whom that is the case? What if you have your best day on your first day? What if it was all downhill after that? Well, that's exactly what happened.